Hello and welcome back to Piper House, where we renovate our 1889 vacant home in a small town in Nova Scotia. Our last episode, we found these things in the wall. I already knew that this was a cookie cutter, but I had absolutely not a clue what this was. I could tell it was some sort of half of a scissor. Well, a whole whack of you came out in droves in the comments to tell me that this is, in fact, a Victorian-era candle wick scissor, or half of one. So that to me is pretty interesting, and we can call that mystery solved. So thank you everybody for all of your help. Also in our last episode, due to improper footwear, I had a nail in the foot. So don't worry, here I am with big, thick-soled boots on. I was at Piper House solo this day and decided to start upstairs in a room that we hadn't done any work in yet. There's plaster off of some of the walls, but that was from the previous owner, so I decided to jump right into it. And yes, we are using tarps now, which is great because there's a lot of hardwood floors in this house. And here is Demolition Debbie in action, tearing down the small piece of gyprock that was here between these two rooms because it felt like a fun thing to do. Here I am trying the shovel trick. It does work pretty okay, except I have the strength of a 6-year-old child, so I think it would be more useful to people who are perhaps a little stronger than I am. Either way though, I am eventually getting all of this lath off. I then decide to move over to the bathroom, which is the room right next door to that. Interesting little discovery here that the lath in this room was kind of on top of each other, which I've never seen before. That is where the chimney was, so maybe that's why. Still kind of bizarre either way. I continue on, want to make some more light in the room, shovel trick again, and then realize that that's where all that 1985 newspaper was, so I thought I would just pull it all out and we can keep all old bits of newspaper in the same spot. I must say I do appreciate a bathroom with a window, and this one happens to have two. Lots of wonderful light in this room, which is going to be really nice once we can finally live in this house. More bug damage on these studs. There were so many studs that had bark left on them when they went up. Let me tell you, I never want to see another live edge table or cutting board again after this house. It doesn't seem to have any structural significance yet, but we're definitely keeping a very close eye on all of these things. And because we found so many things in the walls, here's me looking up to see if there's anything on either side of these windows, just in case. I don't want to miss any super fun discoveries. Nothing seems to be in the bathroom thus far, but it does not stop me from taking a little look-see every time I pull a few more strands of lath off. There have been comments on whether or not we should be having a permit to do any of this stuff, but according to the Nova Scotia Building Code, you do not need a permit to repair, install, or replace drywall or insulation, so we are following the rules here. Here's a funny little discovery. I noticed there was this little rolled up piece of paper in the plaster here. And so I took it out, and it's a tiny little piece of paper, a newspaper article about firefighters in Alberta from 1917, I think. So that's kind of cool. Here's a little insight into my ADD brain, trying to figure out what to focus on next. Oh look, a blank wall. Let's go try and put a hole in that one. Well, that was fun. Now let's try someplace else. Pretty classic for me, I'm afraid. This point in the afternoon, I felt like I was really struggling, not moving very quickly at all. I felt a little faint almost, and then realized it was 3:30 and I had not stopped for lunch yet. And so I did. I stopped out on the stoop and answered some emails and had my sandwich and had a nice little break. Neighbor came by, so I had a nice little hello there, which is nice. Everybody's been really, really friendly around here. A nice little reprieve, but time to get back to work. Electrician is en route. Oh my God, I am just filthy. That's all right. That's what I'm here for. Electrician is en route. One of many that I contacted to try and get solid info on a quote and stuff. This room I did talk about how Matt is a clean as you go guy, and he is, and honestly he was cleaning as he goes, but this is from the ceiling, and it is hard when things are dropping and you're on a ladder to stop. And anyway, that was from the last time we were here. Anyway, just stopped and had lunch and met one of our neighbors, Mac, with his dog Rex. The neighbors are super, super friendly, and it's been lovely. Anyway, I'm very excited to hear what the electrician has to say, because that is absolutely the biggest part of this renovation. Because currently, as you can see up here, it is all old knob and tube. After the electrician came, I came outside and saw this. Those are, I believe, carpenter ants. This is, I believe, another section of rotten sill plate. Oh, the joys of owning an old home that no one has taken care of in 45 years. At the same time, I look over here and I'm like, is that sticking away from? Yep, it sure is. That is just fully broken. Another fun thing to fix. But back inside we go. In a totally different room now. I decided to come back into this little room off the sunroom to take some more lath off and see how much I could accomplish over here. And it is right about here where I see yet another little discovery right here. And I start thinking, am I seeing thread? Am I seeing scraps of fabric? Why would there be scraps of fabric in this little tiny section of the wall? It's nowhere else in this house but right here. And here you can see the edge of some threads and some maybe pieces of paper. I wasn't sure. I went and found an old paint tray that the old owners left behind and started digging around. Of course, there's all of these keys of plaster here that have to be moved out of the way. I was trying to sort through them, but that became pretty difficult. So I ended up trying to just dump it all into this paint tray, and I will kind of sort through it after. There were little bits of piece of paper, but they seem to have like maybe being chewed on by mice or something at some point over the years. But I did find all of these bits and pieces of threads, but it's not, it's scraps, but it's not usable scraps. It's like offcuts from when you're sewing, like, you know, bits of garbage, almost like sewing garbage. Actually, back in Victorian times, they used to call this cabbage. But this was, yeah, you can see this big group of thread here. I mean, this is stuff that I see just about every day of my life in the studio, except this stuff is well over 100 years old. I just have yet to figure out why it's in the wall. You know, it's definitely not meant for insulation because it's, you know, about the size of a baseball. It's not going to insulate anything, and it's only right in this one little corner. To me, it was just sort of leaving his mark behind, except it was just a clump of old thread and old scraps of fabric. Not sure why. But again, for me, very, very interesting. I did check over in this corner, but this is all just bits of plaster. There is nothing in there that is of any significance, threads or fabric-wise. But yeah, it's all just this, like he picked it up off the floor and stuck it in the wall. Not sure, but again, definitely interesting for someone like me. This looks like a piece of corduroy or something maybe. That definitely was using his pinking shears based off of the edge there. There's some really lightweight gauzy fabrics. There's definitely some tulle in there, a lot of thread, some sheer stuff. But yeah, pretty cool. This is the end of the day. I was just trying to document, you know, the state of the rooms as I was leaving them. Again, because of the way my brain works, I don't seem to stick in one room to finish it. I just keep bouncing back and forth from room to room to room, but that just seems to be how it works for me. Now in this room, I didn't do a lot of work, but I did, that bit of plaster there just kind of came crumbling off my hand. And you can see here, the state of plaster in this room is in horrible shape. And honestly, a lot of places in the house, as we're taking wallpaper down, this is the plaster underneath. So it really just needs to come down. It is crumbling off in our hands in a lot of places. So there's no point in trying to repair it. It just needs to come down and just start from scratch again. And let's just take one last look at our beautiful chestnut tree standing tall and proud outside on this beautiful sunny day. This was the end for me, so I changed back into my comfy sneakers and away I go. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time here at Piper House. Cheers.